You know, in this whole crazy world of AI, there's a lot of noise. But one CEO is making a pretty wild accusation. Palantir's Alex Karp is basically claiming his biggest competitors are bluffing, putting on what he calls innovation theater to hide one simple fact. They don't actually have a product. So let's break down his high-stakes argument.
So right off the bat, here's the opening shot. Karp isn't just weighing in on the ethics of an AI pause. No, he's calling it a strategic bluff. He's arguing that all these calls to slow down aren't really about safety. They're about competitors desperately trying to buy themselves more time because their products just aren't ready for prime time.
And he's got a name for this whole charade, a phenomenon he calls innovation theater.
So what does he mean by that? Well, Karp's whole argument is that this really important debate about ethics has been weaponized. He sees it as this deliberate smokescreen, right? Designed to stall the entire industry, while his competitors are in the back, scrambling to build something they can actually sell. And to really nail down what he means by this intentional confusion, he pulls out this really specific, kind of evocative German term. He calls it fog. And the idea here is that all this public talk is meant to be confusing. It's a performance, a big theatrical show, designed to hide the fact that behind the curtain, there's nothing there. It's all sizzle, no steak.
And this slide, it just lays it all out, right? It's how Karp sees the entire AI landscape. On one side, you've got the fog, all these fuzzy ethical chats, these calls to pause everything, these flashy demos that don't really do much. But on the other side, that's the reality he's laser focused on, using AI to get real, measurable results and give businesses a serious competitive edge today.
Okay, so if fog and innovation theater are the big problems, then what's Palantir's answer? Well, it all comes down to a very specific, very controlled way for big companies to actually use AI. So here's the playbook, their technical strategy. See, it's not about just plugging into a generic large language model, an LLM like ChatGPT. No. Instead, they've got this four-step process to build a custom, secure AI agent that lives and breathes inside a company's own walls. The whole point is you get the power of an LLM without ever handing over the keys to the kingdom. And that is absolutely the most crucial point. Your company's most sensitive data, we're talking trade secrets, customer lists, the real crown jewels, it never leaves the building. It never gets sucked up by some external AI. It's all about using the incredible horsepower of these models, but without ever losing control of your own secret sauce. All right, but does this all actually work in the real world? Is it more than just a theory? Well, Karp says the proof is in the pudding. And he starts with the big one, U.S. manufacturing. Yeah, so he points to U.S. manufacturing as this perfect example. For ages, right, the big challenge was trying to match those super efficient processes you see in places like Japan or Taiwan. Karp's claim is that AI can now totally bridge that gap. We're talking AI directly controlling the machines on the factory floor, embedding that expert-level knowledge right where it's needed. This isn't theater, right? This is actual, tangible stuff being made better. But as big as that is, he argues there's an even bigger, more dramatic change happening. And it's in a sector where, let's be honest, productivity has been stuck in the mud for decades, U.S. healthcare. So get this, in just the last year, Palantir has apparently seen some explosive growth in healthcare, and it all revolves around one key number, 14%. So what does that 14% even mean? It means Palantir software is now helping make the operational decisions for how nearly 1 out of every 7 hospital beds in the entire United States is managed. I mean, think about that. That is a huge footprint in what is an unbelievably critical and complicated system. And this is a really big deal because, look, healthcare isn't like optimizing an ad campaign online. It is an absolute minefield. You've got strict privacy laws like HIPAA, huge legal risks, incredibly sensitive decisions about who gets what resources. I mean, you have to be able to track every single step an algorithm makes. Karp's whole argument here is that Palantir's 20-year history, which was built handling super sensitive intelligence data, is exactly what makes them the right fit for a challenge this tough.
Okay, so this impact, industry by industry, all builds up to Karp's biggest, most audacious claim of all, that this whole approach is going to fundamentally rewire the entire U.S. economy.
I mean, listen to this. Karp is making an incredibly bold prediction. He truly believes that this practical, business-first way of using AI is going to unleash a productivity boom so massive that you'll literally be able to see America's economic lead over the rest of the world grow. We're not talking about a tiny little bump here. He's talking about a fundamental economic shift, all driven by this technology.
And that's really where this all leaves us. Look, Karp has laid out a really powerful, really compelling case for a secure, controlled, and high-impact AI revolution. But it brings us to a huge question, one you have to ask yourself. Is this walled garden, enterprise-first vision the actual future of AI? Or could it end up being a barrier to the kind of open, accessible innovation that so many others are fighting for? Honestly, the answer to that question is probably going to define the next decade of technology.